Jamaica. Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Kamala Harris looked every bit the elixir that the Democratic Party needed at this time as she accepted the historic nomination to stand for the party in November's presidential election. We'll discuss the Kamala Harris supremacy on Lead Story today and ask the question, can this momentum last all the way in this race to the White House? Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV on this Friday. I defeated sleep on Thursday night because I had to witness history for myself, live, real time, as Kamala Harris held court at the Democratic National Convention on the fourth and final day being held. Well, it was held in Chicago, Illinois. It was a special moment for many reasons as this daughter of Jamaican and Indian immigrants stepped forward to create history. The first woman sent forward by a major political party in the United States to run for it as its presidential candidate, its presidential nominee. History already made, and there's more history to be made if Harris can ride this wave of momentum all the way to November, the first Tuesday in November, when she faces the formidable foe of Donald Trump for the right to stand in the White House as President of the United States and leader of the free world, and without a doubt, the most powerful politician in the world. The winner of that race will be. Let's hear what Ms. Harris had to say, a bit of what she had to say to her adoring supporters inside that United Center, the former home of the Chicago Bulls, on Thursday.
And so, on behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America. And with this election,
magical moment there. And to think that this is only, as we'd say in Jamaica, the taste mouth, because the main course is very well being prepared for that first Tuesday in November. You know, I think of years ago when Tupac Shakur did that, what I'll call it, epochal song, Changes, and he said, we're not ready to see a black president. And I've lived to see a cycle where there was a black president for 2 terms, and then 2 terms later, a black woman is stepping forward, an equal black, equal Asian woman stepping forward and on the brink of even more history. It's indeed a great time to be alive, yeah? I'm going to take the break, and when I come back, it's an August panel that we've discussed to discuss the Kamala Harris supremacy and whether this wave of momentum can last all the way, gliding like the Silver Surfer, all the way to the White House.
Have in the cut. No, today episode I got nice. Legends, Senator, my longtime brethren, the great, all-star, the king, and the man himself. Salute! You know, as man, we're not to go as specialists.
And that's the pinnacle of the problem.
We want some new era.
Do what you love and you never work a day in your life. You lie.
You work till you win.
It was pandemonium.
Country people can relate to me, I talk about. What you think about me, no matter. You know. What matter to me is what me think about myself.
Man United, I don't care what man want to say.
You know, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, man.
You finished?
Yes, we finished.
Now I'm where I wanna be.
The Cut is brought to you by Flow and Guinness.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
Happiness for the Democrats in the United States and outside as a presidential race, presidential campaign that looked to be ailing under Joe Biden's leadership has suddenly found new life, reinvigorated by a woman, Kamala Harris, and now she is officially the nominee for the presidential race that is already underway, and of course climax is on that first Tuesday in November. To discuss the Kamala Harris supremacy, we've invited Blaine Stoddart. He's a diaspora leader and businessman in the very, very crucial state of Pennsylvania. We have the Member of Parliament for Southeast St. Anne here in Jamaica and the opposition spokesperson on foreign affairs, Lisa Hanna. And we have Melissa Noel. She's a contributing news and politics editor at Essence. Both Melissa and Blaine were, well, Melissa for sure was at the DNC over the last few days, and they are very well placed. We were missing a member of the panel. Barbara Sharif should have been here, but each of these three individuals by themselves could command the platform, so we are not losing anything at all. All right, let's get on with it. I'll start with you, Lisa Hanna. And the fact is that you are here in this time of our Lord and Savior in 2024 talking about a woman candidate for the President of the United States, a woman who looks like me, certainly looks like you, a woman who looks like us, having this opportunity. Put into words what that means for you.
I think it's a very powerful time in our history, and certainly in our present time and for the future. I supported Vice President Harris from when she was running the first time for president, and I was an ardent supporter of her. So they say there's nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And her time has come. And I certainly want to congratulate her, but I also want to congratulate the Democratic Party because they did what was necessary in terms of putting country before politics and recognizing what was at stake for that country if indeed Donald Trump was allowed to become president again. I believe, certainly in your run-up, that she can ride that wave. Just last night, and over the course of the convention, the Democratic Party has raised millions of dollars. And we can get into what I think she will have to do over the course of the next 70 days, which I think will be a case study for other political parties, certainly in this region and around the world. And it's time. I think certainly the United States is behind. There are other countries globally that have had female leaders. Jamaica, with the most honorable Portia Simpson Miller right here in our region with Mia Mottley. We've seen Thatcher, we've seen Merkel in Germany, Thatcher in the UK, certainly in New Zealand. So we were all waiting on this moment, and I'm happy to be alive to see it actually happen.
That you mentioned, I don't see many people giving enough credit to those who either convinced Mr. Biden that there was a better way for the Democratic Party to trend going into this presidential race, and to also say to Ms. Harris that this was her time. A lot of credit, I think, is due to those people who have engineered the outcome that we are looking at today.
Absolutely. In one of my articles, because, you know, I do write a Sunday column of a couple of years, and I said elections were about the future. And I spoke to the fact that for the Democratic Party to actually win the next election, they were going to have to find another candidate. Because I think President Biden, in his 50-year history, certainly his 50-year commitment to serving the American people, he was at that point where the American people wanted something new. They wanted something regenerated. They needed movement. And how he was being painted. And see it. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight, because for the last 3 days, I was just enraptured in the DNC in terms of the production and the speeches. And I have that energy. I have goosebumps, and I'm like, yes, I want to find a way to pound doors for her. And you know what else I was happy about? That she mentioned her Jamaican father.
Yes.
I think it was one of the first times we've heard her acknowledge her Jamaican roots on such an auspicious occasion. And what a moment it was, I think, for all of us Jamaicans to say, yeah, man, we're glad to acknowledge the father, yes. And so I was very pleased about that. I felt satisfied.
Yeah. Melissa, from your position over the past few days, working very closely, covering the events in Chicago, did Kamala Harris look and sound the part insofar as the next U.S. president is concerned?
I would say absolutely. I think that Kamala Harris went from being in the background, as vice president these last 3.5 years, and of course, supporting President Joe Biden. She, with that speech last night, was able to go from simply being a historic first to showing everyone like she is a leader who is ready to govern. The questions about her background, she answered them. She started with that personal story about being a daughter of immigrants, a story that is the story of so many people in America, including my own, right? The daughter of an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, letting us know why it was that she actually decided to become a prosecutor. Her friend being sexually abused in the home, something that she took to heart and wanted to help vulnerable people. So she took that, she talked about her career, she let us know exactly where her career took her, how she is and has been tough on crime, but also fair. And then from that, she took us into answering questions that so many people said she hasn't answered up until this point, which is where she stands on policy. We got everything from foreign policy. We got to hear about where she stands on abortion, what she hopes to do. We got to hear about the economy, just so many things that she went into point by point. And I feel that was meant to not only address, she has her supporters, of course, but it was meant to address those who were still on the fence, right? Republicans as well as independents who were still kind of questioning, like, what will she do for us? How will she do it? I think she answered those questions so well. And there was not a seat empty in the United Center in Chicago last night whatsoever.
Yeah, Blaine, the question for you is this. Many people looked at the speech, watched the speech and said, look, it was obvious she was not trying to hit any oratorical heights that had never been scaled before. She wanted to come across as pragmatic and practical. Did you see it that way, that she hit those points while also injecting her personality into the mix?
For the first time, and by the way, I'm a huge contributor to the Democratic Party in Pennsylvania. I'm also a businessman, so I sometimes support the Republicans. So I'm one of those people. You mentioned, somebody in this call mentioned somebody on the fence. I was indeed on the fence. And I think Kamala Harris, based on her production and her team producing an amazing Democratic National Convention, something I never watch, I actually watched it. And the next thing is, I thought that she hit a home run in her speech, because people did not know her, me being one of them, did not know her. And we sort of got to see, outside of reproductive freedom for women, we sort of got to see what drives her. And I'm hoping she can win this race, but the Democratic Party has to moderate. It has to move from the far left, let Trump run off the cliff on the right, and she will win. I am a Democratic moderate, and I'm looking for the Democratic Party to moderate for once. Stop fighting over bathrooms, stop fighting over transgender, and begin to look at safety, foreign policy, jobs, job training, and lowering interest rates and moving the American economy forward. I am a job creator. My average staff makes $100,000 a year, which is 15 million Jamaican dollars, my average salary. So jobs are critical to me. The economy is critical to me because that's what drives everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And any president that can drive this economy will win. Any president that runs the economy in the ground will lose.
Blaine, hold it right there, ladies. I have to take a quick break. I have to take a quick break, Lisa Hanna, and come right back. I'll pick it up after this break. This is Lead Story, CVM TV.
The time by Grace. Taste that moves you is
6:45.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Businessman Blaine Stoddart has made no bones about what he believes the Democratic Party should knuckle down and do now that the business of confirming Kamala Harris as the party's nominee is out of the way. He says that the laser focus must be on doing the practical things that will result in victory come November. Lisa Hanna, before the break, is it that you wanted to respond to something that Blaine said or to add to something that he said? Go ahead.
I did. I wanted to respond to him and also add to him.
Yes.
I remember when President Bill Clinton spoke at one of the nights, I think it was the night before Kamala, or Vice President Kamala spoke. He spoke about the fact about how many jobs have been created by the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party, which was 50 million to basically 1 million over the period, I think, since World War II. You can check it. The issue that Vice President Harris spoke about last night is that she wants to create a opportunity economy. I believe she laid out some of those things. She needs to get into the specifics of it, obviously, but I believe she laid out some of those things. In addition, though, I believe what she has to do, because she is the incumbent and the economy is suffering from inflation coming out of COVID.
Yes.
But I think the Democrats have to specifically and creatively say to the American people, look, after COVID, we had to do a stimulus or businesses were going to close, and we had to pump all of this money into the economy, which saved small businesses. Blaine doesn't sound like he has a small business. If he does, I don't know if he took that stimulus. But there were several people on the stage of that DNC who spoke to the fact that were it not for the Democratic Party, they would have failed and they would have had to fire people. Now, what they have to creatively do is to pin that to the inflation and to say, look, don't believe Donald Trump that we have messed up the economy. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for the stimulus that we gave after COVID, this is what would have happened. Now, I've sat in Parliament and in politics for nearly 20 years now. I know how politics works. I know what she will have to do. Now, she has to pin and stay on message. I want to see Kamala Harris become the president of the United States for many, many different reasons. And I think it is time that everybody stop looking at what she sounds like, what she looks like, how her hair looks, what she dresses like, and recognize that this is a damn smart woman.
Yes.
Who's tough. She's an iron fist and a silk glove. And
Yes.
what she's done so far, I have respected from the time she's been in office.
Yes, and so, Melissa, the question is, from here on in, does Kamala Harris rise to the, I want to say bait, because it is being dangled, of attacking Donald Trump in her narrative as she looks to win hearts and win support ahead of November, the first Tuesday in November? Or does she simply focus on message and leave Donald to do Donald?
You know, I think it's a mixture, right? Kamala Harris and her approach is always very measured and calculated, right? She responds when it's necessary, and then other times you can just kind of let Trump go off the rails on his own. So it'll definitely be a mixture where that is concerned. But what we saw last night and what we saw that the Democratic Party did so well over the past 4 days was taking those key issues that are really important to the American people and ensuring that you had everyday Americans on that stage every single night, speaking to how they were impacted.
Melissa's video froze.
Acted in a pop
there she is.
those things. How Harris will be able to continue, those should she be elected. So hearing from families who have lost loved ones due to gun violence, hearing directly from veterans on that stage, hearing from people who had, really traumatic experiences due to abortion bans, so on and so forth, right? And we can continue on from there. But what she has to do is to continue that messaging that we are the ones who have saved, people who are going to give people that new chapter, as she was talking about, if elected, and when needed, make those pointed and measured responses to Donald Trump. And otherwise, he'll keep talking on his own.
Yeah, and so Blaine, when Joe Biden was still at the head of the ticket, we were repeatedly told that the path for him to a fresh term was narrow. It concerned the key states, and even that path was constricting as the days went by. With what Harris has shown so far, and with how she is poised to continue to track, is she now opening up greater possibilities, more paths, new pathways to the White House, you believe?
Absolutely. I just want to clarify something. What I said was that the Democrats, until Kamala Harris spoke on Thursday, or until the convention, that their messaging is off. They've done great things, but their messaging has been off. Okay. And the Republicans and the conservatives have been on message. Yes. That's what I've said. Okay. And I stick by that as a moderate Democrat.
That's fine. Right. So I was asking about pathways now. Is her creation of new pathways?
Absolutely. If she can win back Georgia and Arizona, it's over. However, if she doesn't win Georgia and Arizona, she has to win from Virginia all the way up the Northeast coast to Maine and Vermont. And if she can do that, she will win. She has to win the West Coast, she has to win the East Coast, and she has to win a couple states in between, because the largest electoral votes are in California and in New York. Let me also say this. The key to this whole thing is Pennsylvania. If whoever wins Pennsylvania, mark my word, will win the presidency. And the key to winning Pennsylvania is voter turnout in Philadelphia. So again, the last election was Philadelphia that put President Biden over the top that night, was the first state to put him over the top. He then won, I think, Georgia and Arizona later, but it was Pennsylvania that locked him in. And I believe that based on history, because Ohio used to be the critical state. It is now Pennsylvania with our 20 electoral votes.
Yeah, Lisa Hanna, in the short time we have left, drawing on your vast experience as a legislator and a politician, last night, when Kamala Harris was delivering that 37-minute speech, Donald Trump tweeted or posted 48 times. It is clear that he was rattled. It was clear that she was getting to him by virtue of her performance in that vacuum at the DNC. How does she relate to him going forward? If you were advising her, whispering in her ear, what would you say to her about the Donald problem and taking it on directly or not between now and November?
Well, Donald is a narcissist. And the last thing you need to do with narcissists is to fuel them. I think what she's doing is correct. I think she has the right advisors around her. I think certainly on foreign policy, she nails it. But in terms of the politics, I think she needs to just focus on those battleground states and stay on the ground, stay with the people. Let your team run the air campaign. If you need to come into it and you need to debate, then fine, but press flesh.
Yes.
The people want to see you and feel you. Yes. And that's where she needs to be in her battleground states to bring out the people on election day.
Hear you on that. Melissa Noel, is there likely to be, I know we can't predict these things, but I have to ask the question, is there a big momentum shift likely? And will the Republicans have that second wind that narrows this race even further, you believe?
I think it's yet to be seen, but what I can say from what it looks like in Chicago, there is a renewed sense of enthusiasm. There is a renewed sense of excitement. Many people were likening it back to 2008 when former President Barack Obama first ran for office. So that momentum, that excitement, and that energy to actually get out the vote is certainly there. So it's gonna be interesting to see, but I don't want to make any close predictions right now. But I think that there's truly a race now.
Yeah, and Blaine, lastly to you, with the time that we have left, less than 75 days to go, should either of these parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, with their leaders now in place, should anybody put the champagne on ice from this point, so far out from the first Tuesday in November?
Absolutely not. Trump has 75 million people following him, and they're going to go out and vote. The Republican Party is in shambles. It has now become the Trump Party, but his supporters will go out and vote. This is going to come down to white knuckles on election and on election day. I voted, I supported Hillary Clinton, and look what happened. We were shocked the next morning. And so this is a voter turn. I have to agree with Melissa. This is going to be about voter turnout and voter enthusiasm on the day of elections. And here's this is the last thing I'm going to say. If Vice President Harris goes up too far in the polls and people think she has won and stay home, you'll be shocked.
Hear you on that. Lisa Hanna, the last word is yours. At this stage, do you think you will have cause to put on a nice outfit and I'll see you on my TV at an inauguration in January next year?
Well, I think we all certainly want to do that, and we're putting out everything that we can. Those people that we know in the diaspora, we're calling them to say, look, make sure you carry 10 people to the election, on the day of election, to vote. So she has to stay on the ground. I don't know if Blaine or Melissa understands what I mean when I say stay on the ground. Stay on the ground in those battleground states. Meet with your people, those that you need to meet with. She has to be that face. When you meet her, they have to feel her.
Yeah.
So, and Donald can't beat that.
Yes.
Donald can't beat that. And the young people are following her, and the women are following. And when you have women raising that kind of money, those of us in politics know when the women are behind you, you win.
Yeah, it's going to be an extended brat summer all the way into the other season. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All the best to you. Hopefully we'll talk again. There's only enough time to say that what a fascinating race we have. With Biden on the ticket, there was no contest. The Democrats were limping to certain defeat. Harris has reinvigorated the campaign. She is the elixir that they needed. The Democratic Party got a washout. Now they've got a boost. They've gotten a nutriment. Yeah.